Hello everyone. I haven't ever really done something like this before. It's probably like the first Digimon related thing I'm gonna post. Really, just the first thing I'm gonna be posting. But I'm gonna do a deck profile for my Gabubond deck. I got seventh place in the Carta Magica Regionals. So luckily we topped. We got top eight. I feel very proud about it. I got very excited. The whole thing. You can see the whole VOD of the tournament on my Twitch, which I can put in the description. I'm just going to do a deck profile for it, show y'all why I made certain choices, and then afterwards show y'all how I'm going to change it, because this tournament was pre-starter deck, so we weren't allowed to use them. And then I have the starter deck cards I'm going to be using once I, update the deck. Going first, we have our eggs, and of course the first four eggs here we have are going to be for Upamon. This is the egg you want to see. This is the four of. Very good effect. If your opponent has a Digimon with no sources, while attacking, you get to draw a card. It feels very relevant in this meta. We have a lot of people who are just dropping cards down. Pretty much all the relevant decks are doing it. Especially lots of Rocky Rish variants. Even Jessmon's going to be slopping down the Sister Mons, and you're just always going to usually have a draw here if your opponent has a Digimon on board. So for Upamon. For Upamon. Next, I have the one of egg. Now this is pretty much a flex spot. I grabbed Bukamon. Its effect never really came off, but having that fifth egg felt really nice. Um, Especially what didn't come up necessarily during this tournament, but there was a win a mat tournament I was a part of to a playtest before the regionals, and there was a lot of security control in that tournament, and the fifth egg came up a lot in the security control matchup, where I really needed to build on board, like build up to get my win con, to where I know even though if I hit something in security, I could still win. And sometimes getting that far, there was a long match with security control, and I needed that fifth egg. So I 100% recommend running a fifth egg. No reason to keep the four. Sometimes it comes up, especially if you're leaving raising a lot to cycle, which you also might be doing in this deck, just to kind of get the momentum and keep your draws going. So four Upamon, one Bukamon. Then moving on to the rookies here, I'm running two Strabimon, very relevant. I felt two was the right number. I know some people are running more. I can't see any reason to run any less than two. There's lots of targets in the deck. You need your tamers to win. And a lot of the time you need your hybrids to win. So then this grabs both of them. We have a lot of targets. We have our mats, which we need. We have Davis, which is super helpful, and we have Lobos and Kendo Gurumon. So many targets. I think two Strabi is right. It's only a three search, but like I said, lots of targets. It's normally going to hit something, or it could even hit two things. Very relevant. 100% recommend at least two Strabi. The other tamer search here we have is the Dash Pack Gabumon. I'm running three of them. Originally before really playing the deck, I thought, oh well, maybe I'll need four of these. 100% no reason to play four. I can be honest, especially during the event. A lot of times when you play this card, it feels like its effect is, all right, play this down, take the top five cards of your deck and put them to the bottom. So it whiffs a lot. It could just be my bad luck, but I feel three is right because Matt is your key card. You normally need Matt or a tamer to win. Whether you're going to win by hybrids, or you're going to win by Agubon or Gabubon. Sorry, um, you need them. So a five search, it's gonna dig a lot deeper than a three with Strabi. I think three is right. Definitely wouldn't run the four. Um, just because it's whiffed. And once you get your tamers, you really don't have a reason to play this card, rather than just sending the pieces you do need to the bottom. So I think three is right. I could even understand maybe two of them, and maybe three Strabi. But I like the three Gabu. It's another Gabumon name, so it's a little bit more relevant. Three Gabus. Next, we have probably the most important Gabumon here, and that is the Bt6 Gabumon. I'm sad I only have two of the Ult Arts. But Bt6 Gabumon, 100%, 100% needed. He is what gives your Gabubond, or your bond of friendship, an extra swing. Rather than it swinging once and unsuspending, if this is under it, it gets to swing 3 different times. So, it swings, then from this thing's effect, it unsuspends, it swings again, then from its effect, it unsuspends, and you get that third swing. So this is the one you want in raising, this is the one you want to Evo over. It is a lot of the times your win condition is this card. So 100% for Bt6 Gabumons, no reason to run any less than 4. Probably one of the most important cards. I also apologize, I know my camera is not the best, but I did want to put the deck out there for y'all. Next, we have more Gabumons. We have four of the Draw 1 Gabumon. I think this is about BT1. Yeah, 4 BT1 Drawbumons. It's just a 3 drop Gabumon. You play them down, you draw a card. So, we're rookie rushing. We're just playing down a lot of cards, so we don't necessarily have a lot of card draw aside from Matt. So playing these down very relevant to just keep our momentum and keep the deck going. 100% for draw Gabumons. Would not run any less at all. Um, then I have on the last 4 rookies, we have 4 more Gabumons. This is the starter deck Gabumon. It is starter deck 2. Starter deck 2 Gabumon. Its effect came up, I think, maybe once. It has an inheritable where when you swing on attack, you trash the Digi Evolution card at the bottom of one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. I think really only came up once or twice. But it gets rid of the eggs, gets rid of the rookie inheritable, and sometimes those are relevant. But this card I'm probably gonna be swapping out for the new Gabumon and the new starter deck. But in the tournament, it was very relevant having that extra name, just because you want a lot of Gabumons, you want a lot of targets you can Evo over. So I ran 4 of these. That's gonna be it for the rookies. We and then I can move on to the champions. With our champions, the first ones I have here are 2 Grizzly Mons. There are 6K blockers. 6K, very relevant number. I don't see any reason to run the 5K currently. If you're running a 5K blocker, you're just asking to get blown up by like Jessmon or any of the destroy 5K effects. 6K feels a much more safer number. And it's a 5 cost to drop, so it doesn't even feel bad just playing it on the ground sometimes, playing it on the field. So 2 Grizzlymon wouldn't change it. They were definitely saved. They definitely saved my life. I think there was one match where um, this was the card I might be thinking of it of playtest when I was playtesting, but I remember or the other tournament, but I remember there was one where I 100% thought I lost, and then I top deck Grizzly, got my blocker, it gave me 1 extra turn, and that extra turn let me go into Gabubond. So I wouldn't change it. 2 blockers need some kind of blocker in the deck, 100%. 2 Grizzly. Then we've got 3 Gorillamon. So this was my choice here. I know a lot of people are playing Octomon, or something else. I personally really liked the 3 Gorillamon. It felt very nice and relevant during the tournament. It's six K. It costs 6 to drop, hard drop it, which is a lot. But if they have their tamer out and you have your tamer, you're just putting him at 3 anyway, so it doesn't feel too bad. Like in the security control matchup. Um, but the thing that really makes it relevant to me is just that 1 cost to Evo. The deck Gabubond doesn't really have a nice turn 1, where a lot of times if you're going first, you're probably giving your opponent 3 memory, which ideally you don't want to do. You don't want to give your opponent 3 memory to start with on their first turn, and a lot of people were not expecting me to go first, put something in raising, and then just play a gorilla, put him to 1. I draw a card off of that. It's like I'm treating this card a lot of the time as like a 1 cost draw 1, which honestly felt really nice to keep my momentum going in a rookie rush style. And it's just so nice choking your opponent at one. Or if you have your Davis out, your memory tamer, you go to three, you play like a draw Gabumon or a tamer search Gabumon to get a piece you need. Then you could just put your opponent at one with Gorillamon. Um, it felt very nice. I would like there was no time during the tournament or during any kind of playtesting where I was like, oh, I wish this was an Octomon or anything like that. Even though the extra 1K from Octo would be nice to have because I am swinging with Gorillamon. If he's on board, I'm swinging with him. But there was never a time where I felt like I needed that extra 1K. I feel like that one cost Evo really sells him. Just one cost draw card feels really nice. So three Gorillamon. Whoops, bye Strawby. There it is. That Gabumon back. Now we're going on to our hybrids, which are still our level 4 slot. We have two Kendo Garurumon. I wasn't sure about this card until I really played it. I love it. This card has saved my life on many occasions. Its effect when attacking is to bounce a level 3 or lower. Well, I mean, there's no lower than 3, but it's to bounce a level 3 Digimon on the field back to your opponent's hand. So you get rid of memory blockers, you can get rid of another Gabumon on your opponent's field, you can get rid of a lot of really pesky cards. In the tournament, I thought my run was gonna be over. I was against Jesmon. I was hard bricking, which almost never happens with this deck. But I was bricking really hard, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna be over. They had Jesmon on field. They just attacked me like 5 times. They had one Blanc. They had one Blanc. All I had to do was attack with Kendo Garurumon. It bounced their Blanc. They had zero blockers on field, and it gave me game. I didn't have Bond. I just had Kendo, some hybrids, and I was able to attack him directly like 3 times, all because this got rid of Blanc. Um, I love Kendo. Originally, I was going to cut one when we got the new Cordramon, but honestly, after it just saving me multiple times, I think two is right. It's an extra hybrid, so in those security control matchups, you have another potential win con with your memory, and another way of just turning your tamer onto a threat. Really like this. There was also, I think, a mirror match with another Gabubond deck where they had a much bigger board presence than me. I couldn't really find my pieces. I had an extra mat on the field. I turned my mat into Kendo. I swung into their Gorillamon, killing their Gorillamon and getting rid of their Gabumon on field, and then that way they couldn't game me their next turn. So love Kendo. I just fell in love with this card after using it. So two Kendo Garurumon can evolve on top of your Tamers or your Gabumon. Super relevant effect. Next, um, if if Gabubond wasn't the ace of this deck, wasn't the MVP, it's definitely Lobomon. Four Lobomon, no, do not play less than four Lobomon. I swear. Lobomon's super relevant. It's two to evolve. It evolves on your tamer, and it swings. It just gets you game. A lot of the times your win con is going to be you go into your Gabu Bond, you swing like 3 times with it, and then you clean up by using one of the many ways we gain memory in the deck, which we'll see later in the option cards, like Hammer Spark or the Memory Boost. You just go into a Lobo on top of your Tamer and swing for game. There were a couple games where I honestly couldn't find my Gabubons, but I won simply because of Lobomon. Simply because you get these free attacks off your tamers. Your opponent really doesn't see it coming sometimes, and they clean up super well for Lobomon, 100%. Probably, if not Bond is, this is the MVP of the deck. Lobomon, I need to get Ult Arts, one of the best cards in here. So for Lobomon, for Lobo. That's gonna bring us to our megas, I have only two megas in here, um, and it's two Magnadramon. So Magnadramon, it's 11 to drop. It's you think, oh, it's a big cost, but you recover two. I think it came up especially during my match against D Brigade, where they would have had game on field, but I gave them like 10 memory with this. Recovered back to 5, and they had no way to game me. And then I was able to spring out my bond next turn and clean them up. Um, I swear, I've seen less and less people use it, but 2 Magna, it saves my life a lot. You could even, fun fact, you can. Well, I'll talk about it when I in the next card with Bond. Um, because the next card's going to be for Bond of Friendship. But again, 2 Magnadramon, you play it and you recover 2 to your security, so it heals you. And what I was about to say is, we have 4 bonds. Those are our 4 bonds of friendship. I've only got 2 alt arts again. My alt arts are lacking. 4 bonds of friendship. This is your win con overall. And its effect is when you play this card, you can play it on top of any Gabumon for its play cost if you have a Mat sheet on the field. But the catch is you trash 2 of your security to play him, and then if you have 1 or more at the end of your if you have 1 or more after his effect, he kills himself. Now, if you have only 1 or 2 security left and you play Gabubond and get rid of him, you're at 0 security, which means he's going to stay on field at the end of your turn. But you're like, oh no, I have 0 security. If my opponent attacks me, I lose. You can play Bond, get rid of your security, and then play your Magnadramon, get 2 more, so you heal yourself 2, and he still stays on the field because when he was played, you had 0 security. Feels super nice. Um, really love that about how these two interact. I didn't know that for a while until I say that it was like a day before I started playing the deck that I found out about it. Love it. Love that. Love Magnetramon. But back to talking about Bond. 4 bonds of friendship. It's your win con. With Matt, you go on top of a Gabubond. You trash 2 of your security. When he swings, he unsuspends from his own. If you have a tamer, he unsuspends. And then the busted thing about him. So not only does he attack and unsuspend, he is a level 7. He's got 14,000 attack. So He's a level 7 and 14,000 attack. So those 2 things protect him a lot. Like he can't be hit by a fly bullet because he's level 7. And that 14,000 makes it so he's only really gonna die if you hit like a mirror match and you hit another bond, or you hit like an Omnimon, and it's honestly not going to happen very often. That 14k is very nice, and then what makes him crazy is for every time he attacks, you can send your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to the bottom of their deck, and it's not once per turn. So if you give him 3 attacks with your Bt6 Gabumon, either one, this is the non-alt art. If you put him under him, he gets 3 attacks, and every time he attacks, you can send one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of their deck. I think in the D Brigade match, I did that where I went into this, and he had like a board full of Digimon. All I did was swing at his Digimon. I cleaned all of them up. So he got rid of like 6 Digimon by himself by swinging over 3 and sending back 3 or something crazy like that. I'd have to go rewatch it, but Bond, he's your win con. You normally what you do is you build up for Bond. You set up your deck so that your memory ghost is going to go to 3 on your turn via your tamers. Um, Potentially 4 if you have at least 1 Matt and 1 Davis. Then you go into Bond. It puts you to either 0 security or 1, or sorry, 0 memory or 1 memory, depending on how many tamers you have. You want to get your opponent to 4 security. You go into Bond, you get rid of 3 of their security, um, or if they have less, and then you clean it up, and then you clean them up with your hybrids. So again, MVP of the deck. This is your win con. You build everything for this man. For you got to play 4 of him. He's your MVP. Play 4. Now on to that's it for the actual Digimon. I hope this is at least visible. Up to the Digimon. On to the option cards. We have 2 Howling Memory Boosts, When it's 3 cost. When you play it, you can remove two Digi-Evolution sources from your opponent's Digimon, and then you can select one of their Digimon. It cannot attack or block until their next turn. Well, until the turn after. Um, so it came up pretty frequently. You just play this, it buys you an extra turn. Though I'm 100% going to change this out post starter deck for blue memory boost. There were a couple of times, even during the tournament, where you'll see me just play this card, even if they have no Digimon on field. And honestly, it feels kind of bad, but it's just to set up its second effect, where if this card is on your field, you can remove it to gain 2 memory. So you can have a lot more plays, such as your Lobomon. One of these lets you play a single Lobomon. So setting this up early and then having it on field for when you want to clean up with your hybrids is very relevant. Um, and I would, like I said, so even if there wasn't an opposing Digimon that I would target with this, I will play it on field just so I have that extra memory for later, so I know I have it when I can clean up and get game. But I'm running 2 of them. Definitely gonna swap them for the 2 memory boosts. Um, that's about it with these two. They were very important. They were very important in the tournament. That extra memory is really needed sometimes. So 2 howling memory boosts. Then I have 3 Cocytus breaths. It's a 7 cost option card. You select one of your opponent's Digimon, you send it back to their hand, and then you trash any of its Digi-Evolution sources. I feel like I'm not a big fan of the other option people use, which is Rattlestar. There were just a lot of times where I was using it where I didn't feel it was as impactful, or if like they bring out a level, or there's people just hard drop a level 7. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. Or not level 7, level 6, or they go into a 7. I'm like, oh no, Rattlestar. There were times where I just didn't feel as useful, but 3 Cocytus, with 3 of them, you usually will see it in security fairly often. With 2, I was seeing the card, but I wasn't necessarily as much as I wanted. 3, you have a decent chance getting that in security, it obviously doesn't even feel that bad in your hand. Sometimes it can buy you a turn. It's relevant with like it gets rid of it can get rid of a Craniumon, it can get rid of a level 7. So like let's say you're in the mirror match and your opponent swings with you with their bond. Um, this gets rid of it. This sends that back to hand. So that's very helpful. It gets rid of 7s and it gets rid of pretty much anything. It just sends it right back to the hand. Love Cocytus. Um, might go down to 2 and grab 2 V-Wing blades from the starter decks, but I'll talk about that afterwards. But so 3 Cocytus. I apologize if this is a long video, by the way. It's my first time doing it, and I just really enjoyed this deck. The last options we're using are for Hammer Spark. Again, I just realized I've said a lot, but we got 4 Hammer Spark here. You play it, you gain 1 memory. This is also essential for doing what I mentioned earlier, where you swing with your bond, and then you gain more memory, and you clean up the game with your hybrids, going over your tamers. You don't want to use these You don't want to use these too early. You really, when it comes to Hammer Spark, they are very essential. They're very important for 2 reasons. One, they give you one. They give you memory. The other thing is this is also somewhat of a deterrent because if your opponent hits this in security, they lose 2 memory, or well, you gain 2 memory. So they could accidentally end their turn if they swing too early. And you want to be careful playing these early when they won't be as relevant, because if your opponent keeps seeing you play Hammer Sparks, they're going to realize, okay, there's there's a less of a chance I'm going to hit this if I attack. So you want to be careful with that. You really want to use these when you need them. Occasionally, I'll use them early if I'm going to choke my opponent. If I really don't want them to do something. But you want to make sure you use it when it's impactful. You don't want to use this and not benefit as much as you could, with them just not knowing that you have it, or not knowing that it might not be in security. But you got to run 4. Gaining that memory is just too important. Also, with these cards I want to mention, with Hammer Spark and the memory boosts, both of these can be stopped by opponents' memory blockers, but don't worry about that. I don't think I ran into a single time where memory blockers were really relevant to me for two reasons. Memory blockers are level 3s, which means Kendo Garurumon can get rid of them, so these will be back online. And your boss monster, the Bond, when he swings, he gets rid of the memory blocker. So don't worry about memory blockers. Usually when you're setting up your game, you have two different methods of getting rid of them. Um, and just like if your opponent plays a memory blocker and you're just gonna get rid of it next turn, they have to spend the memory again to play it, and then when your boss comes out, it gets rid of it anyway. So don't worry about those. Your hammer sparks are almost always going to be live when you need them, and so are your howling memory boosts. That's it for the options. I'm probably putting I can't I'm looking at this backwards, so it probably looks super weird sometimes. Yeah. There we go. Something like that for y'all. And lastly, we got our tamers. We have 3 Davis. Davis sets your memory to 3, and when you play him, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can grab any blue, or you can grab a blue and a green Digimon. We don't have green, but as you can see, all of our Digimon are blue. And the main thing we're looking for with these is your bonds. When you play Davis, you can grab a bond off of him, and it really helps you see your pieces. Or if you need that Bt6 Gabumon, maybe you're missing a hybrid. Davis can grab that for you too. The only thing Davis can't grab is Magna. It feels bad to hit him off Davis, but that's fine. That's not that big of a deal. All the rest of them are targets, and setting your memory to 3 with Davis is super good. It lets you go into your bond, and it sets you up for a lot of plays. And these tamers are also important for your Kendo Garurumon and for your Lobomon, as you typically want to evolve Lobo on top of them. So, 3 Davis. Let me move these. Three Davis. And lastly, most important tamer for Madashida. He's what allows you to go into your bonds. Please note, you can only if each one is once per turn. So if you only have one mat, you can only go into bond once per turn. If you have 2 mats on the field, you can go into 2 bonds. My one game I lost, it was really funny. I just wasn't paying attention. The only game I lost during the tournament, it was such a sad, like an upset, like a dumb misplay. It's kind of funny to watch. Like it hurt. It hurt when I realized what I did. I tried to go into 2 different bonds off of one and just killed myself and gave my opponent the game. That was my only loss during the whole tournament. Definitely my fault, so I can't complain. But for Madashida, your most important tamer. Its effect, aside from letting you go into your bonds, whenever you have an Gabumon in your, I can talk today, a Gabumon in your raising area and it leaves, you gain 1 memory and draw 1 card. And setting these up early, they let you draw so many cards. That's one of the reasons why I say these 5 eggs, super important. Because if you have these out and you don't have the pieces you need, you're gonna keep leaving the racing area to keep drawing more cards and keep applying more pressure with your stream of rookies. Because there were times where I couldn't even find my bond, but just because I kept spamming the board and keep coming out and swinging, I was able to just clean up with my hybrids because I had so many tamers on the board. So tamers very important. Mat very important. You need 4 of them. Like this is not even an option. You need to see this card. It gives you so much value, and he fuels your win condition. He fuels both your win conditions actually, your hybrids, which you can evolve on top of, and he lets you summon Bond. 4 Ishida. That's it for the deck. Let me see if I can make it a little bit prettier for y'all so y'all can see it, and then maybe I can put in a timestamp just to be like, oh, if you don't want to listen to me, here's this timestamp. Let's see, 3 of them. Excuse me. Well, I should have done this near to begin with. Four of them. We've got 2 Magnas. 4 Lobomon. 2 Kendo Garumon. Whoops. 3 Gorilla. I know I talked a lot about how much I love the Gorillamon, but I think he's one of the few I'm switching for the new Corgimon in the new 2 Grizzly in the new starters. We got 4 of starter deck Gabu, 4 Drabumon, the 3 Davis, the 4 Matt, 4 Hammer Sparks, 3 Cocytus, 2 Howling, and of course 4 Bonds of Friendship. Wonderful deck. It really exceeded my expectations in the tournament. I was super nervous, but I did so much playtesting. And like I said, we went 7-1 with the deck, went 7th place, and the only loss that I did get, 100%, I can't even blame the deck. That was me. It was all my fault. I misplayed terribly. If you ever want to look at the VOD and see, it was in a mirror match against Gabubond. And like I said, I tried to bond twice for some reason. It hurt to rewatch that. Now with the changes I'm gonna make, going into post starter deck, 100%. 2 Howling memory boosts are going to be 2 blue memory boosts. This is another card. When you play it, you can look at the top 4 cards of your deck and grab a blue Digimon. So this will search your bonds that I threw on the ground. No, they'll search your bonds. It's just another card for consistency. Like I said, there were times where I played Howling where my opponent didn't even have a Digimon. This won't be a problem with this. I can play this at any time and get a benefit off of it, and then later on I can get rid of it to gain 2 memory. 100% 2 blue memory boosts. Another thing here is forget this Bukamon. Bukamon 100% being replaced by starter deck Demimon or Demivimon. Its effect is if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, your Digimon gains 1000 DP. Still not going to be very relevant, but it's definitely going to be a bit. That 1K can save you. Bukamon's effect didn't really do anything for me. It was just a 5th egg. This one, I can get some benefit out of it. Then we have the starter deck Gabumon. So I'm on the fence with this. I think I'm actually, excuse me, I think I'm going to take one of these out. I think I'm going to take one out and just switch to 3 of the new starter deck Gabumon. Its effect is if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, you get 1000 DP. So again, it's going to make your bond 15,000, which you'll swing over other bonds. I feel like it's going to be more relevant. That it can also make my Lobo 6K and my Kendo 7K. Um, and I feel like it's going to be more relevant over the old starter deck Gabu, which just gets rid of a source. On the fence though, because like I said, I think this came up maybe twice or once, but I don't feel like that's enough to really justify it. So we're gonna go with 3 of these. I may end up with the 4th one. I'm on the fence of that. I'm switching between 3 and 4 of these, and the reason for that is because of the option change. Because right now I'm running 3 Kakaitis, but what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a Kakaitis out. So I take 1 Kakaitis out. I'm taking 1 starter deck out, and we're gonna run 2 Kakaitis and then 2 V-Wing Blades. V-Wing Blade, it's very similar to Kakaitis. It's only 6 opposed to 7 memory. And you return one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand and trash all the. So the only thing is, this can get rid of level 7s, so this can get rid of your opponent's bonds if you're in the mirror match. This cannot. This can only get rid of 6 or lowers. Um, I'm debating still keeping 3 Kakaitis or just doing a 2-2. This is gonna have to be with playtesting. But I'm at the moment I'm thinking the 2-2 split just feels correct. So we're going 2 Kakaitis, get rid of 1, and getting rid of 1 starter deck Gabumon for 2 V-Wing Blades. Then the last change I'm making is, even though I love you, Gorilla, I love this Gorilla so much in that tournament. I loved him. He did a lot of work. But I think we're going to go with 3 Cordramon. Originally, I was going to go 4 Cordramon and go down to 1 Kendo Gurumon. However, after the tournament, Kendo put in so much work. I'm gonna keep trying to. If I feel like having the 2 going forward isn't going to be as relevant, I'm definitely gonna go to 4 Cordramon. Cordramon is an amazing card. He costs 6 to play. When you play him, you draw 2 cards. So same cost as Gorillamon to hard play, but I draw 2 cards off of him. And if you're at 3 memory and your opponent has a tamer set up, you're just gonna put him to 3. It doesn't matter. You draw 2 cards. The other great thing about him is if your opponent hits him in security, he plays himself to the field and you draw 2 cards anyway. So he's a threat in security. He's great for consistency. The only downside is he costs 2 to evolve. But there's not many situations where you're going to evolve him. You're just gonna slap him down, draw more cards, and get your win con out. And that's pretty much it. So that's it for my thoughts of, well, the deck profile. It's it for, I know it's a mess. What I'd change going forward. The only 2 cards here are 2 Hammer Sparks. I want to be fancy and run 2 regular Hammer Sparks and 2 of the new Hammer Sparks. Just because I like both arts and I love this Digimon. Look at him, he's so cool. Um, but that's gonna be it for the deck profile. I apologize again. I know it's a bit messy. This is my first time doing something like this, but I hope it was helpful for anybody. I tried to explain as much as I could. Um, and I had to had some people watching me throughout Twitch during the regionals, and if any of y'all watch this, I greatly appreciate it. I really do want to thank y'all for supporting me. Just thank y'all a lot, and have a great rest of your day and night or whatever it is, and keep playing Digimon.